Okay, I just started the recording. It is September 24th, 7:15 p.m. I'm calling to order the Economic Development Commission meeting, specifically the Marijuana Retail Subcommittee. In attendance are Paul DiGiuseppe, myself, Renee Deli, Laura Parker, Mike Massini, Mike Units, and Denise Luciano. Let's see, let me just make sure that nobody else is waiting to be brought in. Okay, we look good. So on our agenda tonight, back to the review of the RFI applications that we received, specifically applicant 3, which is Lucky Green Ladies, and then applicant 4, Exit 10 LLC. So just a note for folks who may be new to this meeting format, the review sessions are specifically set up in a Zoom webinar to allow the subcommittee the review and discussion. Any questions that we have will be documented, and then the applicants will be emailed with that information and scheduled for a future meeting. Our next meeting right now is Thursday, October 8th at 7 p.m. So we would communicate to that schedule if we need to have either applicant that we review tonight come back. Okay, and with that being said, any questions from the group before we start? Okay, give me a sec. Let me just, so I can see you guys and type at the same time. Let me just change my monitor here quickly. Okay. So Paul had, we talked about yesterday, going through the process, not so much differently, but as opposed to going line by line, taking these in buckets based on the overall arching theme. The first one being management and operations profile. What I'd like to do, just for purposes of those who may be listening in, and again, just for awareness, I guess, as we go through, I'd like to read each of the questions beforehand so we're all familiar with them, and then we can start having the discussion about our thoughts in respect to the first applicant, Lucky Green Ladies. So under management and operations profile, we have, looks like about 12, maybe 11 questions or line items. And I'll just read these in order. The first is business plan demonstrates market and financial feasibility. Demonstrates an acceptable development timeline and ability to bring the proposed marijuana retailer to timely commencement, presents high quality security plan, presents high quality and well-formulated management and operations plans as it relates to personnel policies, establishes a comprehensive plan to prevent diversion of marijuana to minors and or the illegal market, presents high quality and well-formulated management and operations plans as it relates to marijuana storage, transportation, and on-site deliveries, both to and from the marijuana retailer, and delivery to customers. Location appropriate for the proposed use given the scale and nature of the use, including but not limited to potential impacts on parking and queuing of customers. Presents high quality and well-formulated management and operations plans as it relates to record keeping and maintenance of financial records. Demonstrates prior knowledge and or experience in marijuana establishments, retail establishments, or regulated industries. Management and operations team demonstrates prior experience in commercial cannabis ventures or other related experience in relevant fields. Demonstrates knowledge and understanding of licensing procedures, and demonstrates well-developed training plans for employees. Quite a big section for management and operations profile. So with that, I know I didn't receive anything from, let me just verify this. See if I received anything from Michael. I know he said he was going to send along his information. Let me just confirm that I don't have that. Okay, I do not have any input from him. So we'll just, I don't have anything to represent there. So we'll just have the discussion with the members present. Okay. So I'll open it up for comments on the first section. I have some questions, but I can wait for others to speak. Who wants to go first? Don't all rush at once. I know that this is like incredibly exciting.
I would make a motion that you start, Renee.
Hey, Renee, I'll ask the dumb question, right? I'm usually good for one of those in a meeting. And this is probably in some kind of a mass regulation that I'm unaware of, but just in terms of ownership, ownership here looks like it's residents of New York as well as Massachusetts. Does that present any issues from our perspective?
Is it ownership or is it interest? Only because I think we had somebody from New Jersey on one previous, but it was a indirect.
So the way that I interpreted this is the LLC or the company is set up with the managing directors, or that's probably the wrong term, residing in Massachusetts and New York, respectively.
Mike, it's a good question. I don't know what the requirements are for the state, to be honest. So we can certainly ask that and look into it further.
I am looking at the certificate of organization, and those folks are listed with the state, including with the New York address. I don't know that that answers, Mike, your question, but at least it's consistent with their, with what they filed with the state.
Right. I'm looking at page 9 of the RFI response. List the person having direct or indirect control over the marijuana establishment. And so I don't think I think it's a non-event so long as it complies with state law. But that would probably be a follow-up just to ensure that. And there is a statutory reference here, and I don't know if that would point us to whether or not that was, I guess, allowed, I guess.
What's the page, Mike, on that? I'm typing it up.
Yeah, page 9.
9, thank you.
List the person having direct or indirect control over the marijuana establishment.
Okay. And it has 2, right? 1 Massachusetts, Bellingham, and 1 New York.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Holy cow.
Yeah, I'm closing my window. Sorry.
It was like it was in your driveway.
No, it's just a motorcycle going down the street.
Okay. Mike, I don't think that was a dumb question. So you still have another one for the meeting.
I still have one. Perfect.
Yeah.
In their plan, did they list any experience they have? Am I just missing it?
I didn't see experience in the industry. I saw retail experience.
Okay, there was retail. Okay.
Retail, but there was a mentoring relationship with someone in the field. Didn't really go into detail about what that really, what kind of experiences, education, information that was exchanged, but it was identified as a.
Okay.
I thought weren't there 2?
2.
I thought there were 2 mentors. I'm gonna search for it. So I'll just go back to that particular question, right? Because we ask for demonstrates prior knowledge and or experience in marijuana establishments, retail establishments, or regulated industries. I don't remember seeing.
There is a comment, and I'm trying to find the page where it is. And I forget how it was worded, but I found it. Dan.
Yeah, they did a really good job of organizing this. On page 134, it's the qualifications of all close associates.
Which page again?
134.
I don't have 134. Yeah. Do you have the,
Yeah,
you must have the,
My
so,
page 134 is personnel records.
well, this is showing,
can you give me like a word I can search on that page? Does it just say qualifications?
mentee. So it does say here that she was a mentee of Carolyn Frankel of Caroline's Marijuana, and a mentee of Brian Striar, the CEO of Four Daughters.
Yep, that was the second one.
Yeah,
I have to find the quote in here. There is a reference to check for plethora. Do a keyword on plethora.
It's on the bottom of page 135.
Thank you.
A plethora of experience in the legacy market.
Yes.
134.
Yeah, that's a second paragraph on page 134. The page number is at the bottom, Laura. If anybody's looking at the electronic file, it's page 87.
All right, but here's the thing. You must be looking at the redacted one because I printed out the unredacted one, and my page 134 is personnel records.
Yeah. So I would say anything that you see that looks confidential, don't speak to it on here.
Got it. It's on my page 138.
Do you want me to read this? It talks about the,
No, it was literally that statement that I enjoyed.
oh. So, I mean, I think from a perspective of like, if I had to rate this, obviously, on a scale of 1 to 4, I wouldn't put it at 4. I can't remember what the scale is. I think there is retail experience. There's experience from in running other companies.
Yeah, and they've
From the other individual.
Yeah, and they've hired consultants in legal in that field.
Yeah. I did have a question. I'm going to back us up in respect to the financial portion of this. So page 13, it has, it doesn't actually show the proof of funds. And I know that's been a question for us to ensure that there's adequate funds there. I know I wanted to say there's something that shows maybe a $3 million line of credit. So I kind of think about, what Paul brought up yesterday about is that when we think about, is that direct access to cash? Is that an issue? But I think I would like the question back to, and Laura, I don't know, I did this on my page 9 is probably not the printed page.
Yeah, it's page 15 on mine, and I had already emailed you this specific question. Are we concerned that it's a line of credit and not a declaration of available cash?
Okay.
Well, I think there's two things. There's a commitment in here for $650,000, or there's some kind of a commitment followed by a line of credit.
Yes,
Commitment.
there's a commitment for $1 million, and then demonstrating the availability of that is only a line of credit, which is contingent.
Right.
Isn't there one too that shows the bank, but it doesn't show a balance?
yes.
Okay.
Well, but it does have the line
Oh,
of credit
that's
available.
the line of credit one.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's not where my comment was, because my comment, like my question on this was, or specifically provide proof of funds. And I think it must have been written in there that upon request. So I guess I would just ask the group if that's something that that I should put in the notes for follow-up.
Yeah, I think it would, in any of these, we need to make sure that we have a comfort level of the available funding.
Okay, so let me just document, I'm going to document that, and then Laura, I will grab your question as well. I'm using a different format. I got to get out of this format. Sorry, I don't have my mouse. I couldn't get my mouse to work, so I'm trying to work on the laptop display. Okay, and Laura, you said you emailed that to me, right?
The questions, yes,
Mhm.
Wednesday.
Okay, no, I'm just gonna, I'll grab them all and then I'll put them in order as we hit them, just so the applicant can go through if they want to review the video. It'll make chronological sense. You know how you made the comment about the plethora sentence?
Yeah,
I don't know if you guys read the statement. I was laughing at this, and maybe it's because me not being a user, I can laugh at this, but the one that said it's under anxiety and paranoia, the warning. Anxiety and paranoia may accompany over-ingestion. Guidance: if you're experiencing any feelings of anxiety or paranoia, stay calm and remain in a comfortable, safe environment. The effects will pass with time. I just read that and I started cracking up.
it is a real thing. It helps if you have somebody nice to talk you down.
I have over-ingestion or yeah, over-ingestion all the time, just not of this. Salt and vinegar chips, though. Okay. Okay, so I have to provide the proof of funds. I have, are we concerned that this is a statement of a line of credit and not a declaration of available cash on hand? I'm going to strip the page numbers out just because it depends what we're looking at.
Which version? Yeah.
I don't know if this falls in the same category, but I had a note on, there's a reference to medical marijuana sales in here, right? And if I understand correctly, those are two different licenses. One's an adult retail and one's a medical treatment center.
Retail can sell to a medical marijuana user. You just don't need a, I
Okay.
don't foresee there being a need for a medical marijuana license going forward from a consumption standpoint.
Right.
I think one of them that we looked at, one of the partner companies, it was a legacy medical marijuana, and it is now considered a medical and retail, but for all intents and purposes, they're probably in this state will no longer be just a medical marijuana dispensary.
The other thing too, on the financial part, there's a reference on, I'm going to have to find the page. I have listed down on page 139. And my comment was, I thought that the financial backing was with Martin Noah and not Joanne, based on the original information. But then within that document near the end, well, I don't even know if that's the end. I shouldn't say near the end. It seems to have conflicting information. So let me see if I can find the page and I'll kind of bring you to
Yeah, the
it.
commitment is from Martin.
Mm-hmm.
The only other reference I saw to him was within the, again, the qualifications, so the same page, and it had, he'll serve as an advisor to his wife and daughter, will not be considered an individual with managerial or operational control.
I think I was in the other one when I reviewed this.
And well, I have the redacted version. I don't recall when I looked at the unredacted who the line of credit is for.
That's early in it, right, Paul, with the
Yeah,
statement?
this is page 12 of the redacted version. It's the statement from the bank.
Mm-hmm.
Just be curious. I don't recall who that. I believe I remember who, but if Laura, if you're able to find that.
I'm looking right at it and it does not state, it actually just says on it redacted version, and I have pulled this from the unredacted.
Okay.
So this is something we would need to specifically ask about.
Yeah, who is this for?
Whose line of credit is this? And can we get a, I'd prefer to see the cash on hand.
Yeah, we asked for the proof of funds. So, I mean, really, from a redacted perspective, the only thing I would expect to be redacted would be an account number on this. I don't think the other, for our review purposes, meets the level of confidentiality. Hold on, Laura, we were 4 pages off before, right?
Yep.
Right.
So if I had a note for page 139, let's say it's around 145. I gotta go to the other version. Okay, so it is on, it actually shows page 139. And it is within, it's that section with the qualifications. Let me go into the other document. And there is a statement there that says, hold on one sec. It's under Joanne, well-recognized business owner. And then there's a statement that says she will provide the financial backing and support to assure the success of Lucky Green Ladies. But I think that's a contradiction to what is stated in the beginning. So I'm just going to put that as a note for them to follow up. Okay, I'm going to go to I just want to go back to the spreadsheet. I thought there was significant information in here about the market and financial feasibility. I skipped over where I was seeing the information about Colorado, specifically when it started talking about neighboring states, because I don't think it's applicable given our geography here.
Well, no, you don't want to skip that. She paid for a market analysis.
No,
And-
I didn't skip the analysis. I skipped the sections that specifically talked about Colorado.
Okay.
And I read as they were comparing it to Massachusetts, the neighboring states, which isn't based on our demographics and the number of people in smaller areas and the number of states we have and our drive time from state to state. I didn't think that that was comparable. So I thought that the financial feasibility and the market information in there was exceptionally adequate, or meets whatever that category is for number 4 in this section. I thought they did a good job of doing the research and looking across the state to determine what, really the I don't want to say like the impacts of the saturation, but I guess that's probably the best or easiest way to state it.
There was some
Yeah.
very good detail, and I think if you read further with regard to the other states, they use those states to extrapolate the information to be used for here. So, and it's the only other states where there's really any relevant information that can be used. So, where they had to make concessions with regards to understanding it is not the same situation, but it was helpful for extrapolating some key data. But that alone was excellent. It had a very good overview of, when the, I forget what the phrase was, time for, it may have been saturation time for market sustainability or something along those lines.
The normalization, I think it said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, with regards to, 2024, we're not going to see any more exponential growth. And things will normalize and, there will be organic growth, but not on an exponential basis because it'll be too widely available.
Yeah. I mean, when Colorado was the first to legalize, I mean, they were the only show in the whole country, and they were seeing phenomenal sales in their first year. But as other states started to legalize, well, as they started getting more in the state and then other states legalized. And that's certainly something we have to think about here. Like Rhode Island has been talking about going to recreational as well. And I don't know about the states up north of Mass, but it gives a, at least what happened in Colorado, and there's probably some similarities here.
Not necessarily concerned about any other, I'm not sure of any state that has it on a ballot for this fall as a question. So
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, they're 2 years behind and will be normalized by that point anyways, by the time any other state gets on board and has a shop actually open.
I agree. I thought this was, very, very well written, and it's very good analytical information, especially as it zooms into our region.
Yeah, I agree. Anything else on the business plan overall? I didn't have any issues. I think mine were mainly around the financial, what was written from the financial statements.
I'd like to know if the lease has been signed, at what point they intend on signing the lease, because this is just a letter of interest.
Is
And
it a
it's
letter
not-
of interest or letter of intent?
I forget what it is exactly called, but it is non-binding.
With Gator,
Yes.
yeah. It may just be contingent, oftentimes, going forward on a lease or a purchase, it's contingent on approval by the local government.
Yeah, I agree not getting it signed before we have our bylaws passed, or we have, she has some assurances that the town is willing to enter into an HCA, but I would not want to see the town enter into an HCA without a signed lease. Something that is binding as opposed to non-binding with the same contingencies I'm fine with.
Again, well, I'm not disagreeing with, but obviously there's a lot of other, whoever gets to go forward from the town will still have to go through CCC, then come back to planning board, back to CCC. So
Yeah.
there may be some hesitancy,
Sorry.
but you can always get like a purchase and sales agreement. Maybe there's some, commitment or.
If you looked within the letter of intents, most of them had contingencies, and hers was upon municipal approval. And I think it gave her the option to back out if she does not have it. And I think she gets a refund of her deposit.
Yeah.
So I would like something more concrete if we're entering into an HCA.
Well, we talked for purposes of the review, we talked about this specifically and not requiring something that was concrete because we didn't feel that, going back to them having to invest financially in this initial process. So, I mean, we can ask a question, but I guess I would ask the relevance in our decision for moving forward.
My question was just, have they signed a lease, and at what point do they intend to?
Two-part. I didn't have that second one on.
Yeah. I mean, right at the end of Gators on my page 16, it's the non-binding agreement, and no agreement shall be binding until and unless a fully executed lease agreement is executed by both parties. So, yeah.
Okay.
But, as we were talking about the site, and this is one of the questions does deal with the site. I think this particular site is an excellent candidate, especially with how much vacancy there is in anything, this is it's in bad shape. I mean, vacancy wise, it's over 50% vacant. It lost its anchor. Plenty of parking.
It's funny you said that. I had a note on parking, but I agree with you. I mean, that the attractive thing about this is going to bring foot traffic no matter where it's placed. And if we can get it to bring foot traffic into that market area, right? And then hopefully bring other potential, retailers into that space, it could, spin it around from what it's been.
I mean, each of the sites we review, I think, has an attractive feature to it, but this is really our only shopping center.
Yeah.
Just as makes this makes this a unique opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, Renee, maybe we can finally get someone to put in the traffic signal at the exit.
Yeah.
Yeah. At which exit?
Coming out of the Great Woods Plaza.
Oh, right. Yeah. I don't think that's going to happen. But that would be a fourth one in town, Mike. I mean, we're really going from like the 1800s to,
It's not Mayberry anymore, like they say in the Wikipedia article.
Right. Does it really say that?
It does. It talks about how Norton put in a light at the intersection of 123 and 140. And once they did that, it was the first traffic light in town, and it wasn't Mayberry anymore.
It's hysterical. That's funny. I did have a note. So back to the parking. I'm assuming, and I don't think it's relevant because I think it has plenty of ample parking, but like the 73 spaces is the entire parking lot?
700.
700 and
Yeah.
I got my numbers backwards.
Yeah.
The entire parking lot. There was a note, and I'm trying to find it. Oh, I have it listed on page 129, and it says the area handles like the Dunkin' Donuts rush very well. And I thought that was funny because I think that's actually the one downfall of that space, because if you've been in that traffic when people are trying to to go through the drive-through. They literally just go wherever and it's all over the parking lot. It's kind of crazy the way they do it. And I don't know if it's because people are parking, you know, closer up to the road where you would assume that like the traffic pattern would be, but I don't see that ever being an issue. And if it was, I think that we would just have to go back to Gator as a town to have them mark out like some sort of a traffic pattern for that drive-through.
Yeah, that's, I think, the biggest problem is there's no access control for that drive-through.
Yeah.
And the whole parking lot. I mean, you know, it's
Yeah.
one giant, you know, you can drive from one parking area right through the other and, you know, go 5 football fields, it seems like, but there's very little access management inside of that area. But I mean, that's certainly not an issue for this applicant. But again, I think since I've been with the town, I mean, that was a pretty low volume shopping center, and I've never seen that parking lot half full.
No, I haven't seen the parking lot half full. I just see the lines. Like I've seen 3 lines going into the drive-through. You know, people who come in from the entrance Mike was talking about, the back entrance, and people who are driving across the lot, and they just kind of sit there, right? And they let each other go. It's like a spider.
Yeah, and again, that's the only opportunity we would have at that is if they were redeveloping that Dunkin' Donuts or something that affected it, and we could get it through a site plan. But otherwise, you know, there's nothing the town can do to go forward and make improvements there or require them to make improvements.
Right. No, but I think we can ask just to put some basic lines in, right? So people aren't in parking spaces. It's just something that we need to be aware of, that, you know, the other thing too, for the applicants or the businesses there, right? You don't want to make it where they're parking across the entire place. But I only brought that up because I thought it was funny to say that Dunkin' Donuts handles it when it's kind of like a free for all.
It's handled. Nobody's handling it. It's just
right. It just is
it
what it
takes
is.
care
It's
of
not really
itself.
it's not bothering anyone.
Yeah.
Mike, did you have a comment? I couldn't tell if you went to talk and realized you were on mute. Okay. The timeline. Any comments on the timeline?
Well, the fact that she's certified would accelerate her through the state process.
Yeah.
I don't know how quickly, but it looks like it puts them right. It would put her and other businesses that are qualified and puts them to the front of the queue.
I like the fact that, you know, I think she was very conservative in her timeline. It was very realistic, which I appreciated. Yeah, I would hope it would come online sooner than she's expecting, but understanding that there are so many factors that are going to weigh into this.
Hey, Paul, how does it, you know, when you think about the special permitting process, what kind of time is shed off of an applicant who's using an existing building like this versus having to build one?
Well, that would certainly help with the building permit side of it. And you know, with this, it would probably save them because based on what she wrote, she's just remodeling.
Mm-hmm.
So, the information on the site plan portion of this exists. We have it. So it, she would have to identify the space, and she could use the old, should be able to use the old site plan, and then focus more on the interior and other things like, how the trucks will access the site and that sort of thing. So being that it's an existing building, I think that helps, because then you don't get into some of the things when you have new development that comes in, like, setbacks and whatnot.
Right.
Not going to be a variance needed because there's no change in the structure. I assume there's no change in the structure of the building. So that actually helps. That can help speed it up. It could. It makes it less difficult from that perspective.
So from timing, is that like typically like a 3 or 6 months, like I'll just call it a save?
Well, I mean, marijuana aside, because again, this is a new use and
Hmm.
I don't know. I'm going to just assume the planning board's going to be more conservative with this, but if you're dealing with an existing use, an existing structure, oftentimes, I mean, if we're talking about, if we're not talking about marijuana, if this is just a new business going in, unless it's a significant, if it's a major change of use, the planning board doesn't even see it. That just goes through building permits. So, but this would certainly trigger a special permit. They would need, any applicant's going to have to show some sort of site plan, to show the layout of the space, of the lot, and all of that. So, but again, I think this should help shorten.
Hmm.
I would expect it to, but again, I'm not going to predict what the planning board's going to do with either marijuana special retail special permit.
You brought up an item that when you brought it up, I don't remember reading it in here about how product delivery into the store is going to take place. Is that in there?
I don't remember, I don't see it in there, but I do know on that site, it's on the rear side. All of the trucks come in on the back side. But I don't remember seeing that in here.
Okay, I think I'll just add that in as a question then.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was muted. It's on my page 44, which could be somebody else's different page.
Page 44, as in the bottom of the page?
The bottom of the page says 44.
I don't have a 44. I went from I have the hard copy, and it went from 41 to 92.
Yeah, it says page 42 to 91 have been redacted.
Okay.
So I'm
So
sorry.
is that the
I
security
interrupted.
plan,
My
Mike?
apologies.
It is.
It's in the
Okay.
security plan, correct?
Okay, so I think that that's a separate, I don't need the specifics of the security and timing or randomness. I just want to know how it's going to get into the site, front or back.
Back.
Yeah.
There's a secured receiving area. If you look at the proposed layout of the site plan, it would be the back of the facility.
Yeah, just Mike, I don't want to go into detail because you're looking at the unredacted version. So
It's very well detailed.
yeah, no, I know I just didn't remember reading it when I was in there.
Yep.
And I think I looked at the unredacted. Okay, so is that a question to ask, or does it just state it's going in the back?
It is very well detailed. You'll be
Okay.
perfectly fine with it.
I know, I don't know why I don't remember reading that. Okay. So I think from, the security plan, I think most of us looked at the other one. I don't have any issues there. I don't think that we need to comment on that. I think what's mentioned because there is some mention of it in the redacted version, and I think, again, it's going to comply, and we can look to Chief Clark to comment if he has any issues on that. The other section, just to make sure we cover, was in respect to the personnel policies. And I just made notes on personnel and training overall. I didn't separate them out. But thoughts from the group?
I thought it was very detailed.
I did too. This is the one I've had the fewest questions or issues on in general.
I did too.
Okay. Oh, Laura, I just noticed you had a security question that I'm going to pop up in here.
It doesn't, just for my own edification, but at the end of the day, the security plan is excellent.
So just for everybody's awareness, the question that she sent was, is a security agent on site during operating hours? So I'll include that for them to answer at our next meeting.
I think the answer is yes.
I got the gist of it, but I assumed so, but it doesn't actually state it. So I didn't know if this was somebody working remotely with
Mhm.
access to the security feeds
Well-
internally. That was my only question.
So Laura, on my page 95, it does say security agents will perform the following duties, and one of it's escort authorized visitors through restricted access area. Oh, through restricted access areas. Never mind. I was thinking they were taking the public in.
We can ask, we
I
can just
think
ask the question.
it's fair enough to ask that.
Any
I
issues on, oh, sorry, go ahead, Laura.
That's okay. I think the only thing that triggered it is it said that security report, or there's something in here. It says that the security is the responsibility of the NOACs. So I just wanted to make sure that there was on-site security personnel.
It says Alyssa
At
is
all times.
responsible. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was kind of my trigger there.
Yep, I remember reading that. I actually remember where all the responsibilities are. I'm like, that's a full-time job of 2 or 3 people.
Yeah, I thought that was a little unusual, but the security plan was excellent, and she did provide for security personnel. I would just feel more comfortable knowing they're on site.
Sure. I'd like to talk a little bit about, because this is the first one that we've seen in respect to the delivery to customers. So I don't believe, I remember talking about this as part of the bylaw review. And I remember, and I just can't remember the whole conversation and how it ended up. I know there was some initial conversation where we were not going to allow that. And then I think we pulled back on that. But just, you know, I have to go back and look at the bylaw and see if we put something in there. I don't believe we did, but in respect to the delivery, are we worried with any of it? I mean, I thought it was pretty clear. I think that, you know, it's an unknown we haven't talked about, so I thought I'd bring it up.
No, I had questions with regards to, I'd like to understand what's involved with the exclusivity. And, you know, what happens if we had another potential retailer who intended to enter into a third-party delivery licensing agreement with another entity? Do they have to cease and desist if a social equity applicant comes online and supposed to have exclusive access? More of logistics. And then I had questions with regards to where the sale, with regards to delivery, because it does allow delivery outside of the town of Norton, provided that the town allows for the use of marijuana, if not the sale, and under which municipality is that sale recorded.
I remember reading that to say that it's under the town of Norton.
If it's her product.
Renee, my recollection on the delivery piece was that I don't think it had passed yet Massachusetts when we were drafting that. And we decided to wait and amend it later if we needed to.
Yep, you're right, Denise.
Well, now's the time.
Well, it still hasn't passed.
Correct.
So we can put that question in there, Laura. I don't know if that's I mean, just to be familiar with it, she should have some sort of an understanding, but that seems more like a question that we would pose back to the state, right? About how that relates to other applicants. I mean, I didn't read it as a geographical thing. Just the documentation that I've read, it was just specific to those in the social equity programs.
Okay, so let's say she then becomes a third-party delivery licensee and is delivering somebody else's product out of town. Who gets that sales revenue? And
I mean,
again, it's not critical to this. It's just I'd like to better understand the delivery, and I understand that the regulations with regards to delivery are still very much up in the air, and actually, oh, they're being decided tonight, actually, modifications to it by the CCC. I see references to home delivery in these bylaws.
What's it say?
There's 4 instances that I can see within special permit procedures. In order to get a standard application for a special permit, needs to be adequacy, arrange the number of parking loading spaces in relation to the proposed use of premises, including designated parking for home delivery vehicles as applicable. Copy of the policies and procedures for patient and personal caregiver home delivery approved by the commission. Is adequately secured on site or via delivery. And that is under findings. In addition to the standard findings and criteria for special permit, must also do the following. The marijuana establishment provides adequate security measures. No individual participant pose a direct threat to the health or safety of individuals. The storage location of cultivation is adequately secured on site or via delivery. So there's 3 references within our bylaw to delivery.
They all seem to be around security and parking.
Parking.
Okay, any other questions?
I think
Under that section?
No,
Or-
with regards to her being a social equity participant, in addition to the expedited CCC review, one of the benefits that she does have is the delivery option. So, I would like to find out what her plans are with regards to that. But I find her a suitable applicant regardless. It would just be a bonus.
Okay, I added that in as a question. I'm just looking to see if there's an item that we haven't. Any issue with the financial records part? I thought that was a copy paste from the HCA. So I think it's adequate. We had 2 questions on the prior experience in commercial cannabis. So I think this is my lower scoring on the one that's management and operations team demonstrates prior experience in commercial cannabis ventures or other related experience from relevant fields. And I think we've talked about the other. So anything else that you guys have as notes or questions under the management and operations profile?
Hey, Renee, I'm late to the party on this one, so here's my dumb question for the night. Can we just ask the question specifically, how many jobs do we expect to create through this establishment?
She
It
did
talks,
16 full-time, 3 part-time.
what page is that, Laura?
I didn't mark it.
Okay, all right.
Hold on, I
Sorry.
can tell you.
That's all right, that's all right. As long as it's in there. I know that I've scanned this a few times and I didn't jump out at me.
She also is going to give preference to Norton residents for 50% of those positions.
And full-time employees do get benefits,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
paid
Okay.
leave, healthcare.
Okay,
And she's covering 80% of the medical. And she's got a retirement plan. And she's got a very good starting salary.
Geez, they're going to compete for my job, my services. I'm kidding. Bad.
Did you hear that, Mike?
He heard it.
I missed that.
Oh, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
No, but
Were they paying more than $12 an hour, Paul?
that's why.
Yeah. And it got overtime pay for holidays, 2 weeks vacation,
Yeah, paid
Oh,
vacation.
my.
flexible schedules.
Well, again, I personally just value when companies are offering these benefits, because way too many companies don't anymore, and that's real important to a lot of people to be able to get those different benefits.
I agree.
Well, not only
And-
just to offer them, but to pay for 80% of them is remarkable as well.
Yeah.
And she'd
And-
actually made a comment with regards to the profile, and she's got the largest number of full-time employees, and it was specifically cited because just in terms of loyalty and retention, if you make it a place where people want to work and give them the benefits to do so. So
Yeah.
there's mainly full-time employees in this establishment, which is a little unusual.
Mm-hmm.
So Massini, to your initial question, it's on the page
Yep.
161.
yep, I found it. I don't know how I
Okay.
missed that. So there was my dumb question, Renee.
Not a dumb question. It's a lot of stuff to go through. I mean, and then, trying to recall it all.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other dumb or intelligent questions under this section? Okay, so the next section is plan for positive community impacts. I'll just read, looks like we have 5 items on this. Demonstrates a well-developed plan for ensuring the protection of public health, demonstrates a well-developed community outreach plan, demonstrates a well-developed proposal for full and part-time employment and anticipated benefits packages for employees, made financial commitments and other proposals for positive community impact, and demonstrates a well-developed proposal for environmental sustainability and sourcing of retail products and within the overall operation of the marijuana retailer.
So I think we've already gotten into some of this with regards to the full and part-time employment and the benefits packages. Community outreach, I found them very good. She's made references to a number of youth and adult education programs, is offered to pay for police training, and is committed to $1,000 a month to coverage of kindness. Overall scored this section very, very well. The only one that was remotely average was the last one with regards to the environmental sustainability. No worse than any others, no better than any others. So other than that, I scored them higher.
I actually found that part, Laura. I know, when we talked about the one, they kept referring back to that licensed partner, right? And I found this one to actually attempt to have some applicability to the retail store. So I thought that there was credit for that as opposed to just.
I don't know what what are we talking about?
That sustainability
Oh.
question. Like I thought that there was a little more meat on this one than the others.
Well, when you can compare to like somebody like who we talked to last night, no. So if that's the scale, then they don't quite rate that high.
From a retail perspective, not a
Environmental sustainability of sourcing retail product.
right. So I thought it was acceptable. I thought there
Oh,
was
I did
more
too.
than what we initially read from the other applicant.
Are we talking about the first one?
Yeah, because their information kept referring back to the licensed partner, the cultivation facility.
Right, but
This
that's
one-
where they're
this one
getting,
had-
that's where they're sourcing.
No, I know, but this one had some additional examples. That's what I'm saying.
Got it.
So thus the extra credit.
And Beth Ross, you better get ready because they said they're going to teach the seniors on the benefits of marijuana. So
Yep.
I saw that. Yeah. Is she gonna be able to talk him down?
she's going to get some new vending machines for the COA.
Paul, we're gonna have to approve that use. I wonder how long we should
The use table.
consider this a pivotal moment. Let's see how long it takes to actually get this type of product in a vending machine. Right? That could be that's a good business plan.
Yeah, I don't see that happening.
Why? We
Yeah,
have the
that-
ID scans, right? ID
That's not
scans,
happening.
facial recognition.
Yeah,
You can do it.
there's a I think a little bit more of a opportunity for diversion with a kiosk. CBD maybe.
It's only because we don't have beer yet coming out of a vending machine.
Got to go to Japan.
I think I agree, that this was, very well done. I think there's been a lot of thought put into how they will help distribute community benefits.
Yeah, I agree. Any questions that we want followed up on?
Hey, Renee, this is not for this applicant specific, but just how would the town enforce, there's a lot of detail in here, right? And there's a lot of, there's a lot of community benefits and things like that. How would the town enforce that?
It's part of the HDA, Mike.
Okay.
So all those items will be called out specifically.
Okay.
Okay, so the last part, this is the fun part, the items that are not specifically asked for in the RFI. There are 3 here. The first one being location appropriate for the proposed use, given the scale and nature of the use, including but not limited to potential impacts on traffic. Addresses the potential detrimental municipal impacts and proposed acceptable mitigation measures, and proposal integrates into the overall goals of the town of Norton.
And I think the application and the site itself creates a, number of benefits to the town. Again, from helping to hopefully enliven a dying shopping center to, it's not going to have parking impacts. Traffic, we don't know. We just don't know enough about the characteristics of traffic getting in and out of here. But that's true of any of the applications. So I would say that the proposal itself addresses this pretty strongly.
Yeah, I made a list of, I have a comparative analysis and I have a tab that I just call extras. And if they offer to do a traffic study without, being asked, I just made a note of that, which they did. The other thing that I liked is they had specific COVID related procedures.
Yeah.
So, which didn't ask for, not everybody did. They get bonus points for thinking of that.
I actually had an item on that because I was reading that. I thought I put, and I can't remember, I didn't have time to go back and look, but I thought if I remember reading that, it was everybody at the counter, the front line sales would be wearing masks all the time. And then the others only had to do it when they couldn't be socially distant. And I think the state's requirements for retail are to wear masks at all times while working indoors.
But
I don't think it's anything that we need to worry about as part of the review process, but I think whatever's documented needs to just say that it's going to be in compliance with the latest guidance.
Right. And
Yeah.
if you think about this particular industry, you may have security personnel in their own room. You will have a single inventory personnel in their own room. So from that perspective, where there is no interaction with the customers or the other retail or the bud tenders.
The other thing that I noted too was just I like and I laughed at this because we tried to do this when we were doing, talking about the hours, right, that we were going to permit within the bylaw. No issue, because I think the hours of operation are within what the bylaw would say, and the bylaw is going to trump that anyway. But I did make note that the hours that were listed for Michelle's are incorrect, because I remember we were going back and forth and I took a picture from their door of their hours. And Mike, you might remember this comment about you saying that you couldn't buy alcohol anywhere in town after 10 o'clock.
It must be Mike Units, right?
No. But I like that review was done. I mean, it's we did the review too when we were considering what the hours are. I did have a question on, so there's a mention on my page 142 where there was not going to be a co-location, but then I wanted to say that page after there is mention. Let me find this in here. I have sloppy notes. To have another establishment co-located. Let me just refresh my memory here. Give me one sec. Does anybody recall that? Does that sound familiar?
Other than delivery, no.
It may have been around delivery. Let me look. But I don't think that's a...
It's a separate license, or in the case of if you have a retail, it's an amendment to your retail license, but it is a specific separate document.
Is it considered a different establishment?
No, it is an amendment to your retail license.
That's what I thought. So
if you're a retailer. If otherwise, it is a delivery only license. And there's nothing to preclude her from getting a delivery only license as well.
Let me search for Colo, because it's not on the page.
It is. It's page 141. Disclosure of any co-located marijuana. And she said, at present, there will be no. And then the following page is disclosure of plans to expand operations. No plans to expand beyond a home delivery service.
I just took the note. I'm in a different document than I was when I was reviewing. So you found it on your 141?
Yep.
Okay, let me back this up.
So again, it says that the regulations are in flux. Should the commission allow co-location, home delivery license will be co-located at the retail marijuana establishment.
So then I just think that the answer before that should have reflected the same thing.
Well, it's not lying because it says at present.
I know.
There will be
I'm
no.
not going by semantics. I made the note for discussion.
Okay.
Denise, do you remember in the existing definition of a marijuana establishment, if delivery is in there?
I can pull it up. Give me a second. I'm pretty confident it is not, but let me just pull it up to be sure. Um, definitions. Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
It's not there.
Okay.
Yeah,
Laura
I don't know
can-
if I have an old version. Mine is dated like from May.
I have the final. It's not there.
Okay.
Okay, I'm just making a note, and I can have discussion separately. If the CCC updates the definition, then we don't have anything to worry about, right? Because we said that the state would trump, like any changes made by the state would essentially be recognized as part of the bylaw. But if they put it somewhere else, just a note for us, and I know we said we were going to revisit it, that we would have to probably make a amendment to the bylaw if this passes.
Well, unfortunately, within our bylaws, there's not a general marijuana establishment with a list of what qualifies. As far as I can tell, there are specific definitions for transporter, retailer, cultivator.
It's the actual definition of marijuana establishment.
Yes, it's Article 2 definition. So I think we actually had established it already in the previous
Mm-hmm.
version of the bylaws. Let me look at the bylaws. Go ahead and move on, but I think it's already in our bylaws, and we didn't change that. Is my recollection.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we just pulled out what we changed was the social consumption, and we made it. I think they kind of changed it from just social consumption generally to social consumption establishment, and so we made that update. I think up in the use case, if I remember. So it's just a note for us that we have to think about that, and just see what the state does, and if we're going to have to go back and make amendments, to the bylaw. I had a funny, I read the statement. There was a statement in here. It said Lucky Green Ladies will never distribute free samples for promotional purposes outside of the premises. I thought that was an interesting statement because it assumes or infers that they will distribute free samples for promotional purposes inside of the premises. I don't know if that is something that's illegal within the state or not, but I thought that was an odd comment to have in there.
Yeah, it's probably too close to social consumption for comfort, right?
Right.
Just so you know, that I looked up the definition of marijuana establishment. It is a marijuana cultivator, marijuana testing facility, marijuana product manufacturer, marijuana retailer, or any other type of licensed marijuana-related business, all as defined in MGL 94G, the Section 1, and the Cannabis Control Commission Regulations 935, CMR 500.
All right. We're covered.
Thank you, Denise.
No problem.
I'm just typing a note. Laura, you had one more question on here. I think it's about plans to have an ownership interest in another retail establishment.
Yep. I noticed a few. It's got to be, their lawyers must be telling them not to answer the question because nobody's answering it.
I don't think the question,
It does. It specifically states or plans to.
no, hold on. Do you know what page that was on?
In the RFI? Yeah, hang on.
I thought it was, I think you said the question is specific to the town.
No, it's for in this Commonwealth or anywhere else. It is. Disclosure of planned or existing ownership interest or any person having direct or indirect control of a proposed marijuana retailer in any other licensed marijuana establishment within the Commonwealth or elsewhere. Pending, license pending or otherwise, it is 3E.
Okay, so that needs to be answered.
Yeah, and it seemed to be consistent. Everybody answered the existing part and made no disclosure of plans.
Okay. Okay, I have that documented. Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, I think we are done with this particular applicant. We will move on to Exit 10 LLC. What's our time? 8:32. Okay, do you guys want me to read the categories again, or can we just go right into discussion on the management and operations profile?
Ready to go.
Go for it.
I just had a first general question. Do they intend to call this store Exit 10?
I will put that down. I think I know the answer from a separate conversation, but if it's not in there, I will put that down.
Yeah, there was no, everything is exit 10.
Yeah.
Could be a cool logo.
Same question that I had for the last one. Is the lease signed? If not, when do they intend to sign?
Okay.
I had a question with regards to the parking spaces. 72 parking spaces is parcel 2, which I'm assuming includes all 3 retail shops. So those are not 72 dedicated parking spaces to this shop.
How is that different than the 700
Right.
spaces to the other?
If I can,
Because it's 10 times more.
well,
Therefore not applicable.
I can. Right. A couple things about this. This was part of the Blue Star Business Park, which was approved about a year ago. Of course, a lot of it's under construction, not this area yet. So there was a mistake in this application saying that they've begun construction. They haven't on building 2. In fact, there were 3 retail buildings. They have not yet, and I'm trying to find out from the developer, when do they expect it? Although I'm reading, as I read here, it sounds like the applicant is going to be constructing it, but I'd like to get some confirmation on, from Condyne about this. So this was approved by the planning board, and one of the things we will have to do is determine. So the parking was approved as part of that plan. But we would need to determine, does this use trigger, is it what we would consider a change of use compared to what they were approved for? I mean, obviously you have to go in for a special permit, but, this will have to determine, did this change the number of parking spaces that was approved initially? Again, this stuff happens. It's nothing unusual, but we would need to determine that. Because those parking spaces, like Laura said, are not exclusive. As far as we know, they're not exclusive. And, anyone going to any of those 3 buildings to shop could park in any of those spots. So we don't know yet what those retail uses will be. There's no commitment at this point on any of them. So
your understanding was the 72 applies to the entire parcel, not just their shop.
I'd have to look back at the site plan to determine that number to see what it is.
When Paul's looking for that, on the other question about that, they have a signed proposal of a lease, but if you look on the lease, on the signed proposal, it says delivery date August 1st, 2021. So they don't anticipate, obviously, to have a building there to be occupied until next summer.
Mike, did Jeff give you an update on this? I know that you gave us a huge update last Thursday on Condyne. Was
Yep.
this building what part of that? Do you remember?
He did not mention this building. He just mentioned that, and Paul can correct me if I'm wrong, but that building 7 across the street would be the next building.
Yeah, they've started construction of 7 now, but that's a warehouse building, not near here.
Yeah, my recollection when they came and met with us, Renee, was that they weren't going to start that retail section, I don't think, until next year.
Yeah. Calendar year, right, Denise? Starting probably in the spring.
Right. Then the parking spot. So it says that the location that they're going to be in building 2 is 3,000 square feet. That 72 total spaces is 1 per 500 square feet. So by that, I would say there's only 6 dedicated, right? For them, I think the 72 applies to that whole building, not just to them.
Yeah, I'm pulling up. I'm logging on to my computer, and I'm going to pull up the plan and see if we can find that parking. So just continue on, and when I find it, I'll let you know.
I did write down the question too for the applicant, because I don't necessarily think we should be digging for it, but I wrote down the question of what are the allotted parking spaces based on the agreement. Okay, so if we think about this, starting from the top, feelings on the business plan and the market and financial feasibility.
I had a specific question with the way they worded something in particular. Page 36, market projections. And it says that they expect to be able to service at least 100 customers a day. And I want to know what they mean by able to, meaning they only intend to have enough inventory for 100 per day. What happens if 250 people show up after the 3-month appointment only period? The phrasing of that was troubling.
I'm just trying to find that.
Page 36, the last paragraph.
Yep, I got it. I just want to copy it out so that I can reference that in the question.
Yeah. The be able to is bothering me. And in the very next paragraph, it talks about state experiencing a shortage of supply. So I'm wondering if the cash or the capital of the initial investment is only sufficient to provide for 100 customers at $116 per sale. And somewhat related within the business plan, the purchase and supply agreement with Cultivate, what does that get them? Does it get them more favorable pricing? Does it get them credit terms?
Yeah, that would be one of my questions too. That Cultivate is going to be their consultant. So how much involvement is Cultivate going to have in the operation?
Yeah, in here it actually specifically stipulates none, but there has to be some benefit to Cultivate. So I'd like to know what benefit Cultivate is getting from this partnership. The DePietros are 50-50 owners, and it does specifically state that Cultivate has no controlling interest. So I don't understand what the purchase and supply agreement gets them and what's in it for Cultivate.
Okay.
I'm looking at the site plan for it and for the parking. And, you know, there's 3 buildings, but there's a fairly contiguous parking area and a lot more than 72 spaces there. I don't have a total, but in looking at this, you know, I can see that the number is far greater than that. But these are, again, they would be considered shared parking with the other buildings.
Thanks, Paul.
But, you know, again, so with what they're estimating, which again, we'll have to go through a process to validate that they should have enough. But again, we also have to factor in those other 3. When it comes back as a special permit, we'd have to look back at the other 3 buildings as well. The biggest thing we would have to do is determine the use, what they base this site plan on versus what differences that we might find with marijuana use, with marijuana retail use.
Can you elaborate on that? I think I just
Sure.
am not understanding something.
And I did a lousy job of explaining it. And so every use has a different output in terms of traffic and parking. So for example, if you have a fast food restaurant versus a sit-down restaurant, you know, they're just different experiences. A fast food restaurant, you'll have more people coming in because it's high turnover. So you would assume the traffic is higher, there'll be higher parking, as opposed to the sit down where you won't have as many people coming in and out, but they're staying longer. We have to look at this because what they did was more of a general retail. And again, as I've mentioned before, this is a new use and we're gonna have to really count on some experts to help us figure out the traffic and the parking impacts of marijuana retail. I just don't know what they are, but based on the numbers we're seeing, it sure looks like they're going to get it's going to be one of these high turnover types of uses where, you know, people are going to come in, not be there for a long time and then go. We just don't know.
I'd equate it to a Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good equivalency.
I think the volume is probably similar. The time in the shop is similar.
Yeah.
The DePietros would like that comparison.
Yes, I'm sure they would. Yeah, I think even within the last package that we looked at, there was a specific traffic study, and it referred to like a specific code, and it was for that particular type of retail establishment.
Yeah, so and at this point, I wouldn't make this as, myself, I wouldn't make this into an issue of the parking.
Yeah, it would be nice to know if they have dedicated parking. That's all I really want to know.
So I
Yeah,
had Laura, I put the question down, and I can reword this. I put the question down saying, what are the allotted parking spaces based on the agreement? Do you want something more defined?
I think Laura, Laura's question, are they going to be dedicated or are
Okay.
they going to be shared with the other two buildings? I mean, again, that may be a little premature at this point. But we
I
certainly
guess,
ask.
sorry, go ahead, Paul.
I was just going to say, I'm not sure we can hold them to that at this point because again, we're going to have a site plan and special permitting process that will, we'll have to address that, the parking issue.
Right.
I'm sure we'll have, sorry, Denise, go ahead.
I was gonna say, if the parking isn't sufficient, are they amenable to like appointment only kind of a structure, right? To alleviate that concern.
I believe they said they were, at least for the, it was in here that they were going to do appointment only, in fact, for, I believe, a period of 6 months?
3 months.
3 months, okay. Because
Okay, I
the
missed it.
group that they're consulting with runs the Leicester facility, which was the first one to also do by appointment only.
Okay, good.
That was the first one to open, right, Paul?
I believe so.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think
that's
they
the
were,
one that,
they were I mean, that was, I think it was either the first or the second, and they were having huge lines. And, I think they took responsibility and went to I guess it was an online purchasing. Was it an online purchasing or was it?
Appointment,
no, it had
I
to be
think.
an online appointment system.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know Chief Clark actually talked to the chief there, and he said, if I remember correctly from his update to us, that the chief there indicated because more shops have opened since then, like the traffic is not an issue for them. It was only in the early stages when they were one of two shops in town.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else on the market feasibility?
I like the timeline. It was detailed. It was realistic, if not even conservative. A lot of it's going to depend on Condyne specifically.
I don't know if they could put up those warehouses as quickly as they did. I have to think that it can go up pretty fast too. It's still amazing
If
driving
they're
by
the
there.
builder, again, reading this, it sounds like Exit 10's the builder. I'm trying to verify with Condyne what if they can disclose what that plan is going to be.
Well, we can ask, right? So
But I
what
can't
question
tell
would
you
you like to, what question would you like to pose to the applicant on that, Paul?
Are they constructing the building? And I guess if we're going to ask that, we might as well say, what's your construction schedule? Well,
Isn't that in there?
I thought it was.
oh, it is. Yeah, right. It is.
It is in there about 172 days for construction.
Yeah, there was a whole section related to construction in here. I just glossed over because I didn't care.
Yeah.
All I really want to know is when does it open? I don't need
All you need to know, Paul, is they said 2 to 4 months they'll be through the planning board, so.
Well, good.
I think that's
Well, again, this is not, remember, this is an approved development. They're not,
Right.
they'll
Yeah.
it's not built, but the planning board has approved it. And if they're not changing anything on the exterior, this would be a special permit and possibly a site plan modification. But
So
it's not from scratch. So
you're thinking this is similar to like an existing building, right? Like in the Great Woods Marketplace?
right. With the difference being now that they still have that time they have to construct it. But what Condyne had told us in the past was these 3 buildings would be the last in this phase.
Right.
They're starting building 7 now. So, again, I'm not sure now who's building it, these 3 buildings. But it's next in the queue.
Okay. Anything else on the timeline? Okay. So again, this is the security plan. I know that this was redacted from here. I don't know if we want to comment or again, just refer to the chief on this section.
Well, we have the unredacted and it looks very detailed. This was written by by Cultivate Holdings.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just ask a question on that? I couldn't tell. It looked like the manager had a lot of responsibility for security, but I couldn't tell if there was a security guard. Only one time did I see it mentioned.
Okay, so similar question to the last applicant in
I have
respect if there's going to be security on site.
I was also unclear as to whether there's a dedicated security staff.
Got it. I'm going to add that in as another question. Okay. In respect to personnel policies, high quality and well formulated management and operations plans. And then similarly, the plans as it relates to storage, transportation, and on-site deliveries.
I thought it was interesting in their plan where it was worded that the employees will have access to a comprehensive benefits package, including health and dental. Now that's how we got Paul. He asked me if he'd have access to dental and vision, and I said yes. He didn't ask me if he was going to have to pay 100% of it. So, I mean, we had, like at the town, we have access to comprehensive dental and vision, but we pay 100% of it. So I couldn't tell from their description if they were providing benefits or if they were just giving access to.
Okay.
Yeah, probably worth asking that.
You really got Paul for a good deal, huh?
Oh, a steal.
We hired him for
I'm sure I'm living up to it, but
wage too, but his idea of a living wage was different than mine.
I don't think the other ones specify whether or not they pay for the benefits packages as well. I mean, I guess I'd be surprised if they did in these smaller businesses, just because it'd be unusual, I would think.
The last package we did, they pay for 80%.
80%, yeah.
Okay.
The first one, though, they did not specify, if I remember correctly.
No, it was just available in
Yeah.
the first one it was available, and the second one, no. This one it said it was available.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, if they run Dunkin' Donuts, 52 Dunkin' Donuts, I'm sure they've got to have
A plan.
a
Yeah.
plan. Yeah, so
Yeah.
you should ask them.
I don't know if they can mingle them, right? Because this is a wholly separate business.
They should be able to get some sort of economy of scale, even though it's a separate entity, I would think.
Okay, personnel policies, any issues with those policies or plans? Or questions or comments? Sorry, I was having a small snack. I needed to finish the pretzel. Okay, so no issues with anything that's listed beyond what we've discussed. The diversion, illegal market, I'm going to try to group these together. I think that's it in that section. Any issues with the understanding of the licensing procedures or the training plans for employees?
Yeah, I'm going to make a comment on the training plan. Well, I'm going to make a comment on one of the issues I have with this package in its entirety is there's quite a lot of use of terms that are not applicable to this entity. And it's clear they took them directly from Cultivate, who had a medical marijuana establishment and does cultivation. So there's rampant use of the word patient, production, cultivation throughout. The second issue that I've got that's somewhat related is there are 2 different training plans in this package, and I have no idea why, and they actually conflict with one another. So the one that starts on page 62 says staff will receive 8 hours of ongoing training annually. And then page 90 in that training plan says each employee is required to complete 50 hours of training per annum. So there's 2 different detailed training plans and they don't align with one another. And one of them is clearly specific to a medical marijuana treatment facility. There's references all over the place to patients, HIPAA, approved uses. So overall, I kind of wish they had paid a little more attention to the details here. That's troubling to me.
It's one thing I have, I don't have the page numbers, but it's under loss, theft, and diversion procedures. It again, this is something we would deal with in the special permit, but it mentions that they would notify the CCC of any fire or hazardous materials, and then they would also make all documentation available to law enforcement, but I think we need to be clear that the fire department needs to be very actively engaged when it comes to certainly fire and hazardous materials. That by law falls under their jurisdiction too.
Paul, was that in the redacted?
Yeah, that's in the redacted.
Okay. So I'll put a note. I'm going to put a note on the spreadsheet
Yeah, it's
about review by the chief, just to make sure that
it's Roman
that
numeral
hasn't been
6.
addressed anywhere, right? Else? That
I'm
we've
sorry.
seen? Has that been addressed anywhere else?
Other. Well, I'm not remembering if they do. Again, this is a standard thing we would look at in both the special permit and the building permits. That the
Okay.
fire department has it's their regulation to enforce. So they would need to identify any materials that they're storing, particularly if it were hazardous, but they would need to identify the materials so the fire department's aware of it. And then obviously if there was a fire, that would fall directly on the, onto the shoulders of the fire department.
Okay.
And that was also a condition in the special permit for Blue Star. And that's actually a standard condition we put in.
Okay. So for purposes of this, is it something that we should be concerned with?
No, but it's probably just to let folks know, the board especially, that the fire department would be very involved with anything dealing with hazardous materials.
Okay. So I was just in a section here. I had a question listed. I just typed over it, so I have to find it back in the document. It's some of the pages it's almost like they were put in as an image, and so my keyword search isn't working everywhere. I think it's on the redacted part. Give me a sec. Continue on if somebody else has comments or concerns.
Just on the verification of ID, I know they're going to have a redundant system when you go in and when you go out, but when I read this earlier, it was that it's under verification of identification. It says upon entry into the facility by any individual, an exit 10 agent shall immediately inspect the individual's proof of identification and determine if the individual is 21 years of age. I don't know if that means they're using a computer scanner for it, or it's just a person.
They are. Hang on, I'll find it.
You saw it?
Yep. It's one of the things I was tracking for.
Yeah.
Yeah, page 97.
Okay.
What I did have a question on is, are they scanning it before they enter or at the point of sale or both? Because honestly, I'd prefer they scan before they were even let in the building.
What point of, I thought it was, I don't remember seeing a point of sale. I saw when they come in and then when they leave to verify that the ID is matching up with the person.
Yeah.
There was a third one at point of sale?
Yeah, no, two. Once upon entering and again at the point of sale using a 50-state ID scanner approved by the local police department. But what it doesn't state is, do they scan it at both points or just one or the other?
Yeah, well, what I was reading was when they first come in, I'm not seeing that there's a scanner
Right.
for it.
There is, but it may only be at the point of sale. Like I said, I'd prefer to see it done before they even got in.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, so our question is, are IDs being scanned upon entry?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So kind of thinking of that, any issue with the comments on the diversion plan?
I thought it looked very solid.
I was fine with it.
Okay. Did we ever talk about the financial feasibility? Is everybody comfortable with that?
I was very comfortable with it.
Okay. I thought that was the case, but I can't remember if we actually talked about it. So that's a pretty big one. So I just wanted to circle back.
I appreciate the fact that they are self-funded and they're putting up their own money and they're the wholly owned entities. So I do see that they have hired quite a few consultants with relevant experience in the market.
Yeah.
But putting up their own money and running it, you know, provides me with a bit more confidence.
This is in a couple sections. So location appropriate for the use, right? We know this is an industrial, it's already approved, according to our bylaws. We've talked about the parking and queuing of customers. We have questions on that. I don't know if this section talks about traffic. I don't know that it's, but I would say at this stage it's relevant, right? We know there are going to be traffic impacts, and we know based on where this is that that's probably going to be a very highly focused topic.
They offer to do a traffic study.
Yeah, and let's keep in mind, MassDOT's going to be putting up lights at 495. Condyne will be putting up a signal at Leonard Street. I think this is, again, this site I think has a lot of great opportunity. I mean, this is certainly from an economic development, what, the Blue Star Business Park is right now, as far as the only major developing project. Again, this has benefits of as a location in terms of helping that project, and as well as being right at 495. That's another it's a prime spot.
I agree. I think I agree with everything you said. And I remember, Paul, some discussion on a change in traffic pattern. Is that still in the plans? Like where when people would exit, they'd have to go out onto Leonard Street to make a left back onto the highway?
Yeah. It's a right in, and I don't know if I still have my map up, but that came up a number of times. I don't recall there's a right turn in, but I don't know that they've even received that yet.
Okay.
From between Leonard Street and the freeway. There's a right turn in. I would have to look back and see. I can't recall what we said about the turning out, but we were certainly trying to encourage them to traffic to go up to Leonard Street and take advantage of the lights. We would not have in any event allowed left turns coming out of the driveway onto East Main Street, other than at the signal.
Is there going to be some sort of a barrier there?
A barrier?
Yeah, so people can't make a left turn and try to avoid the
Well,
light.
it would if it goes in, and my apologies not pulling this up, but no, it would be, you would not have that ability because the lane would turn to the right.
Okay. Okay.
Let me see if I can find that. This one.
While you're looking for that, Paul, I just want to mention we have 2 questions on this in respect to previous experience or knowledge in marijuana establishments, retail establishments, or regulated industries. So I know we've talked about obviously the retail side of it with the Dunkin' Donuts experience. I don't have any issues with this, and kind of back to the point of Cultivate and some of the other consulting, I think that it's certainly adequate in my eyes to meet what we're looking at or looking for.
Yeah, I think they've brought in partners who have quite a bit of experience. And then just on the retail side, having all those Dunkin' Donuts, they've certainly had a track record of success.
Do you want me to keep going, Paul, while you're looking for that?
Okay, I do see it now. It is a right in, right out driveway. So the plan I was looking at was the latest. So, but it's a right only out. So they're not, unless you've, unless you're really reckless, you're going to be going to the right.
Okay, thanks for looking that up. Anything else under the management and operations profile? Okay, under the plan for positive community impacts, it has the protection of public health, community outreach plan, the benefits packages, which we've talked about, as well as the full and part-time employment. I don't remember anything specific to Norton in the employment, like any preference in hiring initially.
I think they did.
Was that in there?
Preference given only.
Your preference.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say there was a preference, but I don't remember where it was or what page it was on. But
Okay, I missed that.
One thing that caught my eye was how much this company has donated in the last few years to some of the other towns they've been in, both Exit 10 and Cultivator. That to me means a lot when a company is making contributions to nonprofits. And the number I remember seeing was about 100,000 a year or something along those lines. Pretty significant.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I noted there was no firm commitment to Norton.
No, I'm not. I'm just, that was part of their record.
they did specify cupboards of kindness and I think it's community. And like the second paragraph of that community outreach section. What page is this? 98.
Any other comments on that?
They just going back to the contributions,
Sure.
it under community outreach, it did say that they plan to engage with local nonprofit organizations to help fill community needs, not only through financial donations, but through volunteer hours as appropriate, technical assistance. I don't see anything that mentions any specific numbers in this case, but
No, there was nothing firm in here.
yeah.
One thing I did want to point out that I did like, and I think they were the only ones of all of them that we had read, made reference to bonuses. So with an organization as, or a industry as profitable as this, I would like to see some opportunity of either profit sharing or bonuses in whatever structure that takes place. So I made a note to look for those things specifically.
It's one thing to note, just maybe as a comparison, but they are looking to hire 8 to 10 part-time employees and 5 to 8 full-time.
Laura, have you in your documentation like marked the total number of employees for each?
Yes, I have a comparative analysis of all of these.
Are they all about the same?
No,
I mean, it seems like some are like 5 or 10 off in my memory. I just can't.
so the first one we looked at was 36 to 42 within 3 years. Only 19 actual positions were detailed for day one. The second package was very unclear, 10 to 20, maybe, no clear plan. The third package was 16 full-time, 3 part-time. This one is 8 expected to start, anywhere from 8 to 10 part-time, 5 to 8 full-time. And then I have details of the last package as well when we get to it.
Okay.
I love that I have a comparative analysis. You have a spreadsheet in front of you. That's awesome.
I do. It has multiple tabs in it.
I'm sure it does.
I knew she would.
I know.
At the end of the day, my brain is just too old at this point. I cannot keep all of this in my head. I need it in a grid where I can, if I'm going to be asked at some point to rank these, I need some way to do it, or to give a list of pros and cons. I need to be able to have something to refer back to.
Right. It's certainly, like I found in my review, if I reviewed more than 2 in a night, I started to just get confused on the details.
They blended together. Yeah.
Laura,
Yeah, I agree.
Laura, don't allow yourself to be bullied. I think your process is great.
I think it's fantastic. I'd like to actually get a copy of it because that's what I would like to have done. I just didn't.
Is your spreadsheet color coded? That's what I want to know.
Of course it is. Yes.
Okay, perfect.
So I use yellow if I have questions or concerns, and I have green if I find that is a over and above criteria.
What about red?
I do not have, I do, because I extrapolated some information out based on the data they provided to see if it aligned.
Extrapolate.
And that's in red. And it is in multiple tabs even.
Hey,
She's a data person, Mike. You didn't know that?
Renee, I think when you decide to step down, I think we know who the new chairman's going to be.
You are, no, I am done sharing stuff. Sorry.
No.
You did a great job on the Charter Commission.
I am not,
If
I
could
am not
vote
done
on-
until April of next year. You cannot have me. And even after that, I want a break. I deserve a break. I'm getting a break.
We'll give you the summer off. So September 2021, it's going to be you.
Yeah.
I was thinking just the winter, Mike.
Oh.
Um,
I am happy to share this if needed. I think it would be probably more useful when we get to kind of the end and we want to summarize our position to the select board.
I would agree. Thank you, Laura.
Sure.
One other thing, they talk about diversity goals too, and they do identify percentages of different types of populations that they would like, and then they also added what they would like to achieve after each year, up to year 4, which again I think is a real positive.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a goal. I mean, it's
Right.
At least they're looking at that.
Yeah, I like the way it was laid out. I would have liked some of these percentages to be a little bit higher, but that's just my personal preference. They're reasonable.
I think it's I can't remember who had some targets at 50%, but
For hiring,
for diversity goals.
a couple of them did.
The one we just reviewed was 50%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even the first one we read, I'm pretty sure, I want to say it was 40%, and they had metric checks along the way after, I think, after each year to see if they were being met. Because it's nice to state it, but if you're not checking to verify that you're actually doing it, it doesn't mean anything.
Right. Any issue on the sustainability side? Environmental sustainability and sourcing of products. It's kind of the one-off in this category.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to go back to what I said on the other one, right? That they talked about the sourcing specifically, but also about things that they can do in the retail establishment as well.
Yeah, I think they did a good job on that section.
And they did get into some specifics on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And with any of the new buildings, they're going to have to meet the new building code, or what we call the stretch code that was adopted last year. And the stretch code is essentially a high performance energy savings type of building code.
So a
So-
benefit for the newer buildings going in.
Yeah, for any new building going in.
How does the stretch code work for the existing, Paul? So, and I know we only have one in an existing. Would they have to, because they're doing interior work, like if walls came down, would they have to comply?
I don't know what the threshold is, but it would probably have to be a very significant remodel, essentially to be a redevelopment for the code to kick in. And I don't know that. I didn't get a sense one way or the other from the previous application. I'm assuming they're going to go right into where Berry was and, remodel it for, I wouldn't think that would trigger a need to, no, it would not. Of course it wouldn't, because, the rest of the building would have to come with it. But, to me, I'm not using that as a negative on that
Right.
applicant. It's just that with these newer buildings, you're going to have more energy efficiency.
That's good to know. Okay, the last section, well, there are two. One being social equity applicant, and I believe this is not one. I know we didn't talk about the last one, but we did say during the review that it was. But this is the section for information not specifically asked. One being location appropriate for purpose and use, given the scale, nature, including but not limited to potential impacts on traffic. Addresses the potential detrimental municipal impacts and proposed acceptable mitigation measures, and then the proposal integrates into the overall goals of the town. So those are the three here just for discussion.
Yeah.
So I think that, and I know, Paul, you mentioned this, I think, we did an excellent job picking this as a location to be within the overlay.
Great job.
Yeah, this is an industrial one. So yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I mentioned again, I think just based on history that there's, you know, if this site were selected, that there's going to be a lot of discussion on the traffic impacts, but there are mitigation plans with the lights. I just like to be honest about what we should expect should
Yeah.
this, you know, come before.
Well, you all heard it at the planning board, and it you know, it is what it is, and any site that goes forward will probably hear something, and we'll have to try to address it.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I think this is as far as new development is our most important and impactful area, and you know, and again, its location right at 495 is, you know, as good as it gets, right? Location, and you know, obviously we'll have to deal with some of the impacts to the adjacent area.
Yeah.
But if, you know, again, we haven't, you know, all of the sites have their benefits to them.
Yeah, I agree. I think from, you know, looking at what the goals of the town are and really what the goals that we've outlined, right, for the EDC, I think that the location certainly is advantageous, but, you know, our goal is to really increase our tax base. I think all these really integrate well into that.
Yeah.
Any other comments? Questions, feedback? Okay. So I have a list of questions for both the applicants. Let me just take a quick review here. I don't have the second set bulleted, but I'm going to say there are probably 12, maybe 15 that I have for Exit 10 LLC. And then I have maybe about 16 or 18 for Lucky Green Lady. So I will get those questions out. Again, our next meeting is Thursday, October 8th. So we will plan to start that meeting with the discussions with applicant 3 and 4, Lucky Green Ladies and Exit 10 LLC respectively. And then that will leave us with the final applicant, Team Green. And there's a question, an outstanding question on them that I believe I haven't looked at, but I will take a look at it and get that out as appropriate.
Yep.
Okay, anything else? Any final comments? Okay, so it is 9:27. Hey, we're actually on time. And we started late. Just think we could have been done by like 9 without my technical problems. So the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Oh, can I make the motion
You sure
to
can.
adjourn?
Go ahead.
I was
I'm
so
so
excited.
excited.
Oh, can't believe I still get to make a motion.
I'll
Did you
second
make it? Wait, did you actually make it or did you just
I
celebrate?
did make the motion to adjourn.
Okay.
You did. And I'll second it.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Laura,
Yes.
Mike Units.
Yes.
See, look, we should have had Mike do the second. Denise,
Yes.
Massini,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
and I too vote yes. So we are adjourned as of 9:28 p.m. Thank you guys. Appreciate your time
Aye.
and discussion.
Right? Have a
Yeah,
great
see
Thank you. Have a
Night,
good night.
everybody.
Yeah, have a nice weekend. See you in a couple
Bye-bye.
weeks. Bye-bye.